The stars over Yeldar shimmered like broken glass, jagged, wrong. Councillor Vex leaned forward on his triple-jointed limbs, mandibles twitching as the security hollow pulsed in silence. A ripple of unreadable static rolled across the feed. Again, the same anomaly, the same signal. Again! That's the 5th cycle, hissed High Commander Zarth. And still no source. Vex didn't reply. His compound eyes reflected the ghost signal, just 5 repeating tones. It wasn't loud, it didn't scream. That was the problem. It whispered. One of the junior analysts, a pale-skinned Kerelek barely into his 3rd molt, gulped. "Should I log it again, sir?" Zarth's head swiveled too quickly. "You will log nothing without council review. Is that clear?" The analyst nodded, not blinking. No one had blinked since it started. The silence stretched, until Vex said, "Play it again." The tones echoed through the chamber. 5 notes, low, then high, then silence. 5 tones, a pause, then static. "They said Earth fell," Vex murmured. "Yet this plays only in council space, only within the old warfront's dead zone," Zarth growled. "Ghost code, nothing more." They laughed, Vex said. Then they stopped. Zarth scowled. "Poetic nonsense. Do not fall to myth. Earth is ash, and yet their signal isn't. AVD spike." The room's temperature dropped, not physically but perceptually, the kind of shift that made even sensors question themselves. All at once, every light source flickered, every display dimmed. Then one of the screens changed without input, a human face. But it wasn't alive. Not anymore. It was an old military comms avatar, the kind used before the collapse. One eye lens, shattered, uniform frayed, no words, just the face, staring back, unblinking, motionless. "They shouldn't be able to breach our feeds," Zarth rasped. "They shouldn't exist," Vex corrected. Then, just for a heartbeat, the image moved, a flicker, lips parting. "I see you." A dozen consoles exploded in sparks. The junior analyst collapsed, not from injury, from shock. Zarth roared, claws activating. "It's a trick. Some empire, maybe the Rilthak, mimicking human code. Psychological warfare." "No," Vex whispered. "This isn't mimicry." He stood, slowly, reverently, his voice quiet. "This is memory." Flashback begins. Centuries ago, the Galactic arm was a warfront. Earth, primal, underestimated, quiet, held its ground longer than simulations predicted. Too long. When they fell, it wasn't in battle. No great fight. Just silence. Then the signals began. None responded, because no one wanted to believe the whispers were real. End flashback. "We covered it up," Vex muttered. "The council. We decided fear was unproductive. But the humans are gone," Zarth insisted. "You said it yourself. This is noise." Vex finally turned toward him. "Do you hear screaming?" Zarth paused. "No." "Exactly." There was silence on the feed. Deep silence. Then the human avatar returned. This time with coordinates. Not words, not demands, just coordinates, the same ones from the war's final engagement, the same battlefield they never dared revisit. Zarth barked, "Scramble a fleet. We'll end this myth." But Vex said nothing, because, deep inside, he remembered something from Earth's final log, scrambled, half-erased, buried under denial. "If you hear this, we are not calling for help. We are reminding you we remember." Emotional flip. Zarth stood at the helm of the war cruiser Vol Karun, flanked by an armada of 5 destroyers. The jump gate swirled with unnatural turbulence. "The coordinates were locked. Engage," he commanded. They vanished into slipstream. 12 seconds later, the council chamber received the final burst of the Vol Karun's black box. It was a scream, not Zarth's, not alien, human. 3 words. Hiss through static. "You found us." Tactical turn. At the edge of known space, inside a nebula long assumed dead, a shape stirred, old, titanic, buried under gravity folds and time. It was not a ship, it was a transmitter, 10 kilometers wide, shaped like Earth's last emblem, a fractured, circle pulsing red. As it activated, thousands of listening posts across the galaxy blinked to life. They didn't broadcast, they just listened, and the same signal echoed again. 5 tones, a pause, then silence. They thought it was mercy. Vex said one last time, before Council security blacked out. It wasn't. The first one to wake was Captain Lisa Theron. She blinked through emergency strobe lights, choking on recycled air laced with burnt ozone. Sparks danced along the control console. Her fingers reached for the override panel, but gravity still hadn't stabilized. No alarms were sounding. That was the first sign something was wrong. Status, she croaked. Silence. Her crew, 16 strong, were gone. No bodies, no blood, just absence. Their suits were still secured, boots by the lockers, helmets clipped to the charging rails, everything untouched, except the air felt lived in, like someone had just been breathing here, but not her crew, AVD. Spike! She turned to the main display, expecting the usual crash diagnostics, instead static. And then a message. Welcome to Echo Sector. There are no exit points. She stood in full silence. Her hands trembled, but not from fear, from memory. They drilled this protocol in simulations, back during the days Earth still had training academies. Echo Sector was myth, a placeholder for what-ifs. What if something went so wrong that the galaxy itself didn't want to remember? What if Earth hadn't fallen? What if it had hidden? Lisa activated her comm implant. This is Captain Theron, UGHV Resolute. I am inside Echo Sector. No crew present, no hull breach, no escape. Vector, requesting evac. No response, of course not. The moment you entered Echo Sector, the moment your signal touched its boundaries, you became part of the myth. And myths don't get rescued. She looked down. A single feather sat on the deck. Not synthetic, not metaphorical. Real, charred at the edges. She didn't know why that unsettled her more than the missing crew. Emotional flip. Lisa moved toward engineering, checking logs. Systems were corrupted. Black box files overwritten. One file remained. Video. Titled only 1978. She played it. A recording flickered on. A human child, no more than 6, sitting in a plastic chair, flickering school lights above. Name, said a voice off-screen. Isaac, the boy replied. Location? The child hesitated, then whispered, Earth. Then the video stopped. That was it. No explanation, except for one detail Lisa hadn't expected. The recording wasn't centuries old. It was dated yesterday. AVD Spike. At that exact moment, across the Council's encrypted comnet, a panic alert burst through containment. Dozens of high-clearance officers, spread across different systems, saw the same coordinates appear on their screens. Not just Echo Sector, every hidden gate Earth had once buried beneath the stars. They activated. By themselves. A flicker of ancient code, spiral encryption, human. They're opening, one admiral stammered. No. They're being pulled open, said another, and then it came. One phrase, burned across every screen. Earth remembers. Psychological. Hook, Lisa returned to the bridge of the Resolute, sealing herself in. The feather was gone. She didn't hear footsteps, but she felt them, like echoes through bone. She turned to the viewport, expecting the emptiness of the echo void. Instead, she saw cities, blackened, floating through space, not destroyed, just hollow. Billboards blinked with flickering ads. Trains moved through station loops with no passengers. An entire planet's infrastructure, orbiting nothing. No gravity anchor, no star, just pieces, suspended, held by something. Older than physics, AVD Spike. She zoomed the external scanner, and then she saw it. A ship. No, something shaped like a ship. Massive, almost serene, covered in solar scars, with patches of Earth's old flags painted like war paint. Its name was etched in the side, SS Memory. She whispered the word without meaning to. Then the ship blinked its running lights once, twice. Then a message appeared on her main panel. Lysa Therin. Do you remember the song? She didn't know what it meant until her implants began playing 5 notes, low, high, low, pause, static. She started crying before she knew why. Emotionally, the human brain recognizes music before logic. And this song? This was the lullaby her mother hummed before deployments. A lullaby from a time Earth still had oceans. They weren't threatening her, they were reminding her. You're not alone, she whispered. No, said a voice behind her. She turned. It was her XO, but he was wrong. Skin translucent, eyes dim, like memory molded into form. You died on Solaris Ridge, she said, backing away. I did, he said, stepping closer. But Earth remembers. AVD spike. His body began to fade, disintegrating, into particles, pulled backward into the ship's comm relays. She heard them, layers of voices, talking all at once, old battle cries, children laughing, funeral rites, poetry, threats, warnings, then one single phrase, spoken by many. We were the storm. Back on the Council homeworld, chaos erupted. The Yeldar, primary fleet, 6 carriers, 4 dreadnoughts, had entered Echo Sector to secure the myth. They lasted 11 seconds. No weapons fired. They simply vanished. The only signal received, a child's laughter, then static, emotional escalation. The head of the Council convened a private emergency chamber hidden within the ice moon of Sarcastic. Only 12 knew of its existence. Only one spoke, Virex. Again, he held up a chip. This was intercepted from the fleet's final moments. He inserted it into the console. The voice that played? Not human, not alien, something in between. The message was clear. You forgot the cost of silence. So Earth sang again. Pause, then another line. They never sent the signal for peace. Tactical shift. Lysa stood in front of the memory. It hadn't moved. It didn't need to. Instead, her ship was pulled toward its hangar bay by invisible fields. She allowed it. Inside, the ship was made of pieces. Cities fused into walls. History burned into glass. Every corridor whispered. She walked without direction. She found herself in a room that looked like her childhood apartment. Smelled like it too. On the table, a worn notebook. Inside, a single phrase on every page. We remember. She dropped to her knees. Outside, the memory began to pulse. All across the galaxy, old Earth satellites long dormant woke. Not to broadcast, to listen to everything alien messages, command chains, black market relays. They collected data and Earth began to learn again. Last AVD spike. Back in the echo void, the child from the video appeared one final time. This time, older, 15, maybe 16, he looked directly into Lisa's eyes through the screen. Do you remember why we stopped fighting? She didn't answer. He did. Because it wasn't enough to win. We needed them to forget why they feared us. Then, a smile, but they never really did they? The screen blinked out. Lisa stood as the memory opened a chamber before her. Inside, a command seat. Old, but waiting. She didn't hesitate. As she sat, the ship responded with a heartbeat. The entire vessel reoriented, a destination lit up, the core worlds. She laughed. Dry and broken. They weren't going to retaliate. Earth wasn't seeking war, it was seeking memory. She whispered the old fleet code, begin chorus, and across the galaxy. The last message echoed again, 5 notes. A pause, and then the silence before history scream. The moon of Terric 9 had no strategic value. No resources, no civilizations, no weather, just craters, dust, and a single listening post. Automated, silent, forgotten even by its makers. Until today, a humming noise vibrated through the stations. Walls low and steady. Then came the tones, 5 notes, a pause. Then something new, a 6th note, longer, angrier, and then the voice. Command unlocked. The lone technician on duty, a bored Avarel species officer named Jesh, spilled his nutrient drink across the console. He hadn't heard human language since Academy simulations. He recognized it anyway. He stood slowly, not blinking. The wall-mounted display rotated into a new feed. A map, Galactic sector overlay, hundreds, no thousands of red markers, each marked with the symbol no alien dared speak aloud, the fractured circle. Earth's flag shattered, one by one they pulsed in sequence, heartbeat tempo, then, all at once, every single one blinked red. Activated AVD spike. On Jesh's screen, another. Message appeared, not translated, just human letters. You buried us, but we remember the shovel. He ran. But the doors were already sealed. Back inside the memory, Captain Lysotherin sat unmoving, eyes closed, heart synced with the vessel's pulse. She didn't speak aloud. She didn't need to. The ship was responding to her thoughts now. More accurately. Her grief, each memory it surfaced, each room it reconstructed, pulled fragments of her past. A street in Nova Lagos, a burning sky over Europa, her father's voice. Don't survive, Lysa. Endure. Emotional shift. Suddenly she was no longer alone. Standing beside her, real, solid breathing, was a soldier she had only seen once, Admiral Kane, hero of the outer collapse, executed for refusing to nuke the Denari refugees. He looked the same scars, the old grey cloak, eyes like broken glass. You're not him, Lysa whispered. Neither are you, he said calmly. Not anymore. She swallowed. Why bring me here? Kane stepped closer. Because Earth doesn't need warriors now. It needs witnesses. Lysa clenched her fists. Witnesses to what? Kane turned, and the ship responded. A window, she forming in the wall beside them. What it showed made her breath stop. The Council homeworld, orbiting in peaceful arrogance, and around it, nothing. No threat, no fleet, just silence. Kane spoke again. You remember how we died? They don't. So, we're going to help them. AVD Spike, a single cruiser entered orbit over the Council world. No weapons charged, no escort. Its name broadcast openly. UNV siren, and it played one signal on loop. Not a threat, a tone. 5 notes. One by one, power grids across the planet failed. Not from a virus, from recognition. Each system, centuries old, had human code deep within. Borrowed, reverse-engineered, stolen, and the signal was a master key. Elevators halted mid-floor, military satellites went blind, AI assistants blinked and began reciting Earth poetry, a poem from the old world. Do not go gentle into that good night. On the council floor, Virex stood in silent horror. Zarth's replacement, a younger, prouder general, was already shouting orders. Launch intercept! Destroy the cruiser! Virex didn't move, because the siren wasn't responding. It was just drifting. It wanted to be seen. A signal flared from its hull. No language, just an image. A council dreadnought, burning in silence, with a single human standing atop it, arms outstretched, engulfed in fire. The same image appeared across 500 worlds. Psychological shift. The aliens didn't ask who sent it. They asked how Earth had that image, because it was from a classified file, one never shared, one never copied, stored only, in a council black site vault, unreachable, until now. Back on the memory, Kane stood with Lysa as 1,000 more rooms unfolded around them. Each room, a memory, a war crime, a betrayal, a secret. The price of Earth's silence. You see, Kane whispered. They thought we were dead. We were documenting. He handed her something, a key. She didn't ask to what. She already knew. The original Earth signal hub, buried beneath what used to be the Sea of Tranquility. Lysa nodded slowly. I'll go, she said. No, Kane corrected. You'll become AVD Spike. She walked into the chamber, the door sealed behind her. Back on the Council homeworld, panic surged. Ships scrambled, a blockade formed, missiles were primed, and then the siren spoke, just once, inhuman, in a woman's voice, Lisa's voice. You trained your children to forget their monsters. A pause, then, but monsters raised by memory do not knock. The siren self-destructed. No radiation, no debris. Just absence, like it had never existed, except for the pulse wave that followed. Invisible, unstoppable. It didn't destroy ships, it awakened them. Every alien vessel within the blast radius had once incorporated human tech for speed, durability, design. Now those components began to remember. Every ship turned off, then on again, not under alien control, under Earth's. Across the sector, chaos ignited, fleet commanders screaming as their dreadnoughts turned toward each other, fighters refusing to obey, 1,000 ships frozen mid-space like puppets with snapped strings, and above it all, a single phrase repeated from one hijacked comms array. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. Emotional reversal. In a bunker beneath the Yeldar capital, a child sat with his mother crying. Are we going to die? He asked. His mother didn't answer, because on their view screen they saw something impossible, a broadcast from Earth. Live, a field of green, skies blue, cities restored, people walking, laughing, living, but none of it could be real. Earth was gone, wasn't it? AVD Spike, on the far edge of space, a single probe emerged from a fold in time. Its hull bore one word, witness inside, a database, no encryption, just records, testimonies, and one final directive: when they forget, remind them. When they mock, record them. When they erase, archive them. And when they return, show them. In the ancient ruins of the Cauldron Library, long lost to sand and starlight, a hidden chamber blinked on, a hologram played, a human woman with grey hair, smiling softly. Today we will begin with Chapter 1, the history of forgetting. Across the galaxy, the dead were speaking again, and the galaxy had no choice but to listen. In the dark void between spiral arms, where no suns burned and no charts dared mark, a station flickered to life. It had no name, no origin, no gravity, just a beacon. And now, a visitor. Captain Lysa Therin stood in the center of its obsidian hall, alone, no oxygen tanks, no lights, no sounds, yet she breathed and saw and heard, because this wasn't a place built for the living. It was built for the remembered. The chamber unfolded around her like memory made metal, rooms shaped by thought, walls alive with Earth's final emotions. She saw Earth's last, cities embedded in glass. She saw her own childhood, replayed on a loop, and she saw the galaxy's crimes against her people, not shown in fury, but in calm documentation. No vengeance, no rage, just truth. That was enough. AVD Spike, a voice echoed through the station, male, ancient, layered with thousands of speakers at once. You are Earth's final command vessel. Lysa nodded, though no one stood before her. What am I here to do? She asked. The voice answered with one word: echo. She understood, not to retaliate, not to destroy, to remind, to become the ghost they feared, not because it haunted, but because it remembered everything. A new screen blinked on. Galactic Council security feed Virex. He looked older, not biologically, but spiritually. His skin had dulled, his mandibles twitching with regret. He sat alone, surrounded by blinking red alerts. They thought it was mercy, he said quietly to no one. Then he looked directly into the screen, into her. "I know you're listening." She said nothing, so he continued. "We told ourselves you were the threat, that Earth's silence was cruelty, that your refusal to rejoin us was arrogance, but we never asked." He hesitated, then whispered, "Were we ever worth speaking to?" Again, AVD spike. Lisa closed her eyes. The beacon behind her surged with white light, and the voice returned. "Activate final protocol?" She paused. In her mind, Kane's voice echoed once more. "We were never trying to win, just to be remembered." "Correctly," she smiled. "No," she whispered, "not yet." The light dimmed. Instead of protocol, a new signal emerged. Low, warm, human, a child reading a book, old Earth mythology. And the phoenix fell into the fire, not to burn, but to begin again. Then silence. All across the galaxy, the signal stopped. No attacks, no warnings, just stillness. For the first time in 1,000 years, Earth said nothing. That was the final message. Silence, and it was louder than any scream. Emotional closure. Back on the Council worlds, debates erupted. Some argued it was weakness. Others, especially the young, believed it was mercy. But those who understood, they built shrines to memory, to Earth. Not as a god, but as a witness, a species that lost everything, yet rose not with violence, but truth. Psychological closure. Lisa remained inside the station. Time didn't pass here. She aged only in thought. Each day the galaxy sent messages into the void, some angry, some pleading, some asking questions. She responded to none. Until one day a signal arrived that made her pause. A child's voice. Why did Earth go quiet? And for the first time she spoke. "We didn't go quiet," she said. "We just waited for someone to listen." Her words echoed through the stars. AVD closure spike. On the planet Yalara, a child sat beside a broken statue of a human explorer. He pressed a recorder to his lips and whispered, "I remember," then smiled and looked to the sky as 5 notes echoed once more. Low, high, low, pause, silence. But this time it wasn't terrifying. It was a song, a beginning, and so Earth endured. Not as a place, but as a story no one could erase, not anymore.